What we're going to create right now is a very simple fog of war system. And in order to do that, I'm going to create a new sprite. And I'm going to call it object fog. And edit that sprite. I'm going to make this 16 by 16. And click that. And I'm just going to fill this with black. By fog of war, I actually mean line of sight. You won't be able to see past areas that you normally wouldn't be able to see. So you won't be able to see past walls, etc. So I'll click that and I'll center that sprite. And that's made that. Now I make an object called object fog. And it's going to use this sprite here. Oh, I made a mistake at the top here. That should be called SPR fog. And this should be called object fog. And click OK. All right, so I've got object fog here. Just ignore this to-do folder. It's got some stuff in it that I'm going to show you how to do later. What I want to do in this room, if I go into this room, is I want to fill this area with the fog. However, it's not going to be in my best interest to kind of scan over this because it's just going to take way too long and I may miss a bit. It's not going to be a very good way to do it, especially if I've got to do multiple levels or if I have really large levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this creation code here to create the fog for me. And what this is going to do is put this fog all over the room. Then we're going to code the fog to become more and more transparent the further away from the player they are. So doing this here, let's have a look. We'll go creation code and I'm going to use what's called a for loop. Now I'm just going to create a single row of these things first. So to do this, I'm going to use the way that you write a for loop is kind of complicated, but I'm just going to use a variable called I for this here. I can't use X because X is reserved in GameMaker, so I'm going to use I. So for I equals 0, this is what I is going to start at. So in other words, what I'm going to use is I and J to refer to coordinates in this room, but I'm just going to do one row. So we're just going to do this second row down here maybe. And so we're going to start I, or X, as 0. And I put in a semicolon. And we're going to go until I is less than, or while I is less than or equal to the room width. And each time we're going to increase I by 16. Okay, so I plus equals 16. So this here is, I want to break this down because the for loop is really, really important to understand. So we start off with I is equal to 0. Okay, and then we're going to continue repeating these instructions in here until I is, while I is less than or equal to the room width. Okay, so it's going to keep going. And each time it does the instructions, it's going to increase the variable I by 16. So the first time we do these instructions, I is going to be 0. Then I is going to be 16 for the next time, etc., 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 until I is 1024. Then it will repeat that instruction for the last time. And then the next time it'll be greater than the room width, so it'll stop. So let's go instance create, and the X is going to be I. So the first time it'll be 0, then 16, etc. The Y, I'm just going to make it 50 for now, so you can see this. And then the object is going to be object fog that it's going to create. Now to demonstrate this, I'm going to turn the views off. So you can see there will just be a row of black across the room. Okay, this is going to be a big row. There it is. It's going all the way across there. Okay, so those objects are nothing at the moment. I mean, I can walk through them. They're not walls like this here. It's just objects that have been created. So going back into the room, what I want to do is edit this creation code so that not only does it go across the room, but it also goes down. So I'm going to put in a second for loop. For var j equals 0. And it's going to continue while j is less than or equal to the room height. and j plus equals 16. And then it's going to repeat these instructions. So what will happen here is it will do this and go, okay, well, I is equal to 0 when it starts. And then it comes into this for loop. And it's going to repeat this until j is, while j is less than or equal to the room height. So it's going to repeat it until j is like down here, like 700 or 800. And it's going to just draw fogs all the way down this first row. Then it exits out of this for loop and goes back to this one and increases it by 16 and does it again. And then it will draw fogs all the way down here and then all the way down here, etc. All the way across the room. But I need to change that to j. Now I can test this by hitting play, running, and everything's going to be above it for some reason at the moment, but you can see it's filled the room with those fogs. So I'll just leave it like that for the time being, and I'll go into here and we'll go add event, step event, step. And what I'm going to do is add in a code block here. Code if collision line, and we did this once before, x, y, so that's the origin of the line, and I want it to go to object player.x, object player.y. The objects I want to check for are walls, and I want to be not precise, it doesn't matter, and we don't want to check itself. Okay, so if there's a collision line, if that equals no one, so there's nothing there, then alpha, let's say image alpha equals 0. Else image alpha equals 1. Now I can't remember which way this is around, so we'll just test it. Okay, so what I've got here, you can see as I move my player around, I get some line of sight happening. So I can see through this hallway up here, and so it lights it up for me. And it goes around and does that. Now, it does give me some weird little errors, so I need to fix these up. What I want to do here is add an event, and I'm just going to check it when it gets created. I'm going to say if, I might just do it a different way actually. Save, no, delete this. Add event, collision with the wall. If it collides with the wall, then destroy the instance, and hopefully oops, that is not what I wanted. Okay, so I think I know how to fix this though. If I go back to the room creation code, let's just have a look. What's happening is it's creating it there. Oh yeah, it's offset by 8. So what I'll have to do in here is go to creation code, and I'm just going to set this up to 8 and this up to 8, and that should fix it. Okay, yep, that works better. And now the gaps between the hallways are actually working. Okay, so that's all good. And if I go into here, object fog, collision with object will destroy it, so that we don't need to worry about the fog that's on the wall, because the wall itself is already black. It's not going anywhere. And that will do that. Now what I can do here as well is I can check to see or make it so that it gets darker as it goes away. And this is going to be a little bit of a tricky one here. So if distance to, if distance to object player is less than let's see, less than 200, then image alpha, we'll do it this way. It's image less than 200, image alpha equals 0.6. Else, if distance to object player is less than 150, image alpha equals 0.5. I'm just going to copy this code here and put it in a few more times. We'll go less than 120, 190 here, 90, 60, and then let's do 40. And that's going to be equal to 0, 0.2, 4, and 3. Okay, so I'll go into this here, and I should get well, that didn't actually work, and it may be because, oh, I know what I've done wrong. I'll go back into here. I can just get rid of the else for now. I did it around the wrong way, but I can just get rid of the else. I should have checked the closer ones first. Okay, so now I've got some fog that eventually gets darker the further away it goes. Okay, so that's working pretty well. Now the last thing to do is to make sure the fog goes above everything else. So I just changed the depth here to -10. The GUI always stays above everything else, but now I can't see those enemies unless they're actually in my line of sight. So we actually got the trappings of a simple maybe dungeon crawler or sci-fi espionage game. They can still get destroyed. And that works pretty well. Now I don't recommend making these fog blocks any smaller than size 8. If you make them smaller than size 16 by 16, they look better, but you start to get a lot of lag because we're actually doing a lot of things per frame now, and it's starting to, it's fine at the moment, but if you get kind of smaller sizes, it's checking a lot more of them, and it just takes a lot longer to do anything. Now I probably want to differentiate the walls here a little bit, but because at the moment I can't tell, oh, is there a hallway down there that I just can't see, or no, it actually gets to the end. But that's something we'll do later on with some sprites. So there's our fog of war that's working. You should have a heart up here by now as well. I just didn't do that last video. I'll do it now. Fog of war line of sight working. And you can see the further away we get, it's looking pretty good, and that took my health down a bit then. All right.